This is FightFans Radio.
Hello, everybody. It's another edition of Untethered MMA on FightFans Radio for September 6, 2012. That's a week before my birthday. I just realized before the show today that we'll be doing a show on my birthday next week. If you want to call into the show, 410-988-6525. You can reach us on Twitter as well. You can reach me at It's Mike Fagan. You can reach Derek at FightLinkerSubo. And you can reach Matt Roth at Matt Roth 512. Boys, I don't have anything to talk about.
I got nothing.
There was a bear in my neighborhood last night.
All right,
Yeah.
bye, guys.
Come on, let's pimp the phone number. Let's get it out there. We've already got it on Twitter. Matt, you need to put the number out there as well since you're so popular and everything. Cool kid.
No, I don't have to do shit, man.
Do it. It's part of your contract. Do it now.
Is it part of my contract?
Don't read it. Just do it.
All right, what's the number again? It's 410-988-6525. So if you guys were paying attention and you just heard me say that, you should call in and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
And if you're stupid and you still want to call in, it is 410-988-6525. You get our guy Ian from Glasgow that calls in. We've had a couple of others, but I'd really like to improve over like the Gino Morascos of the world, so feel free to call in.
So I don't really have anything MMA related to discuss. There's a couple minor things that I've seen, but
Dude, they're talking about your fight like it's really going to happen. Aren't you just nutting your little Mark Hart out every time you open MMA Junkie nowadays?
yeah, that's true. That's true. There is that highly rumored.
Is it
Silva
starting to
GSP
sink into
fight.
you? Do you think it might, like, they're getting desperate enough with the super fights and being unable to make fights between champions, and they're desperate to put George St. Pierre back out there, so they're just going to say fuck it and do it?
Well, now that this fight is seriously being discussed, Derek, I have no doubt in my mind that Carlos Condit's going to put a whooping on Diaz. And even though Anderson Silva says he doesn't care what happens, that he wants to fight anyway, like there's no way.
He does.
Yeah,
The
there's no
UFC
way.
does.
There's no way the UFC is going to feed St. Pierre to Silva if he gets whomped on in a couple months here.
Oh, and by the way, now that they're thinking about doing it at Texas Stadium, sure as shit, there's no way that they're going to do, GSP versus Anderson Silva if GSP loses to Condit, especially at Cowboy Stadium. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I really want it to happen. Everyone obviously should know that at this point. Doing it at a Texas Stadium, it's kind of interesting to me that the UFC has such a hard-on for Texas Stadium for
That's
their
an
big
amazing
fights.
stadium. Who doesn't have a hard-on for that stadium, though? It's fucking gorgeous.
For combat sports, also, they've already had a Pacquiao fight and a couple of big boxing matches, so I'm sure the UFC wants to plant their flag there and say, hey, we can fill up this place too.
Yeah, I mean, Pacquiao-Clottey did almost 51,000. There were 6 people short. So I'm pretty sure that the UFC is probably going to price it out so that they can basically break that record.
Yeah,
Right.
$4 million gate never hurt anybody. So if they can do that in Texas, then they would love. There isn't a venue in Texas that holds a third that many people that isn't like a high school football stadium. So they're not really going to do it anywhere else.
Yeah, and even like a high school football stadium, there's some in Texas that are 40,000.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in Plano and a couple other places, they like don't have a college within 100 miles. Like that's their shit. That's all they got.
Well, why don't they do it in that $80 million high school football stadium?
Which one?
Oh, you guys didn't see that? It's on.
I have heard about that. Yes, it's not just for the stadium. They get locker rooms and equipment and shit for that too. But
Well, I mean, it's the entire complex. I mean, it was on Deadspin, Matt. If you want to go look back, I think if you just Google $80 million Texas high school football Deadspin, it should come up. It looks really nice. It looks like a really nice. And the thing about it too is like considering the money that went into it, you'd expect it to be over the top, but it's really kind of classy looking. Of course, spending $80 million on a
yeah, that's what I was worried about
field.
when I heard the $80 million. I was worried about it being tacky. That was my concern.
It's $60 million, sir.
60. I'm sorry.
And that looks ridiculous.
I think it looks nice. I think it looks like
They're probably using like third-rate, like old edition textbooks in their history classes. They got fucking a furnace that's 40 years old, but for football, we're going to invest some money into program.
What, Matt? You've been there a couple of years now. Where does the whole high school football thing stem from? I don't.
Well, here's the thing. In like West Texas and East Texas, and basically anywhere outside of major cities,
It's all there is.
Like there's nothing. There's
Oh my God.
absolutely nothing. And like I'm not many people know this because I don't share this a lot. But I'm actually born in West Texas. So for me, it's I kind of know why it's a huge thing. I was born in Odessa, which is where like Friday Night Lights was based on.
Yeah.
And every single year before the football season starts, they do a watermelon feed. And the watermelon feed, it's the whole town does it. The whole town comes out and they do a watermelon feed and they watch highlights of the previous year's football games. And I'm not making this up.
Yeah, Mike, he's not like there are people those football stadiums are that big. It's not for like alums and parents. Like there are people that don't go to the high school and never have that go to watch the games.
No, and it's not even that. People don't leave those towns. Like if you're born in Odessa, Texas, you die in Odessa, Texas.
Right. Okay, but the high school stadium in Plano has a higher capacity than the size of the town. Like a higher.
Like that's crazy though. Like,
because people come from miles around because there ain't shit else going on.
Yeah, like I mean, and the other thing is, Mike, when you grew up in Chicago, Derek, you grew up in Colorado. Like, you're from relatively large towns, right? Like where if I drive along a highway and it says next stop, this town, like fucking bumblefuck. Like, there's at least something there. There's a couple of houses, maybe a convenience store, something. When you drive between Austin to Houston, there's nothing. There's nothing. There's
you're not on the coast for that drive, are you? Like you're inland for that.
No, you're inland, but like an entire town may have 50 people.
And they're just not going anywhere. Everybody else moved, and they said, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna stay here." And it's easier now with like Amazon and shit like that. It used to be, you had to go to the big city to buy something. Now you just get it. Why the fuck are we talking about this? What is going on here? It's like a sociology class.
They go to the closest fucking Costco, and they get their giant containers of mayonnaise, and they're good for a year. So that's Texas, and that's why Texas football is so huge.
It's just crazy to me because I grew up in a town. We had a pretty successful football program up until a year or two after I graduated, and the town was relatively football crazy in terms of the school and people coming out on Fridays to watch and stuff. But then I see stuff in Texas and it doesn't even compare. Like it's just night and day. But out of that whole story, Matt, can we start calling you the Jew from West Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to start calling him Bush fucking the Third because he's taking George W. Bush's story. He's going from the East Coast to Texas. He's going to run for office one day. He'll develop a little bit of a drawl as time goes on.
Yeah, it's crazy watching old Governor Bush speeches because he doesn't have that bumbly manner of talking. Like, it was clearly just something that he put on.
And his dad did it, too, because his dad actually grew up in fucking Connecticut. Bush actually moved to Texas at a young age and then went back to Connecticut for school.
Well, and his dad was the fucking head of the CIA. Like, say what you want about the Bushes, but you're not the head of the CIA an adult. It just doesn't happen.
I don't know. He was number 2 to Ronald Reagan, and I don't think a lot of particularly smart individuals have held that position for 8 years.
Oh, Derek.
Are we really talking about... Look, if we're going to talk about politics, I'm hanging up.
Now, let's talk.
That's my and this is no bullshit. That's my one rule about like this show going forward until the end of election season. There's no talk about politics.
But it's Bubba, bro. Didn't you see Bubba?
I don't give a shit. If we start talking about politics, I'm hanging up, and that's going forward all the way through the elections and all the way through this, this next term.
What are you going to do when we get our special guest on? My special guest.
Then I'm hanging up because I'm not dealing with talking politics on this show, and that's bullshit, man.
Matt, if you leave, if you walk out, you don't get paid. You don't get your money.
I will live and die by my decision.
All right.
Yeah, but I think it just changed. I think we're going to see Matt stick on the phone for a little bit longer now.
I don't know what the hell you're referencing, Derek.
Whatever. God damn it. So, John Jones said some pissy stuff. Ian McCall said cops are stupid.
Yeah, what was the deal with that Ian McCall story? Because I heard there's two different things I heard. One was that there was some drug dealer that was mad at him, and then I also heard that the cops just mistaken him for a drug dealer.
The cops may have just seen him and said, "What are you doing, Ian?" Because they fucking know who he is, and then just picked him up and ran him in. But I don't know. I don't know anything until it's charged. I always wait. Innocent to proven guilty. I'm going to fall back on that again, and we'll see what he's charged with and what happens, because I don't know exactly what the charge is at this point.
Matt, our buddy Ian from across the pond wants to know, what about talking George W. Bush versus Bill Clinton in an MMA fight? Does that count?
No, it does not count, Ian. Any politic talk, and that goes for you too, Erica. I know you love Obama. I know you love Obama.
I'd like everyone to know that Erica, our producer, is black, which is what Matt is trying to bait her in.
I'm trying to bait her into admitting she's black.
Hell yeah, he's sexy. Well, that about settles it.
And that's how you know she's black.
Well,
it's not he's sexy. You don't need to whiteize her language. It's he's sexy.
He's sexy. I didn't say he's sexy. I read it as written.
Girl, you sexy.
And you know she loves Clinton because all blacks love Clinton. Is that right?
Is that true?
He was the first black president handing the baton to the second black president.
She says,
God.
Oh God, yes.
Oh God, yeah. So there you go. Is that too much politics for you, Matt?
It's too much. I'm done.
There was a football game on last night, guys.
I don't want to hear Matt to sing about the Cowboys.
Let's talk about Cowboys football.
I had a small bet on the Cowboys at +4, and they paid off.
It's 15-11 out there last night. It's hard to fucking win when the guys in striped shirts are against you.
No, man, those referees were incredible.
Dude, they're such awful refs. Jason Pierre-Paul got tackled more last night than he made tackles, and nobody was called for holding on him.
There was no holding. That's why.
You're so full of shit.
Wait, how are you?
You know that the refs missed like 50 holding calls last night on your fucking.
He did nothing wrong.
Your shit offensive line.
Didn't the Cowboys get penalized like 13 times?
Yeah, but
playing the referees were against the Giants.
It was like the refs like, all right, well they're holding every play, so we can't call it every play, or it'll just look weird. So they only did like the really egregious ones, like, oh, he grabbed his face mask. I can't let that slide.
I'm looking it up just to fucking fuck with you, Derek.
It was so bad. Listen to Matt laugh. He can't fucking deny it.
No, it was the funniest game. It was the funniest.
I actually, to be honest, I turned it off after the first half.
It was a really good second half. Second half was a lot better than the first half.
Thanks to Bubba. I heard the second half was great.
Here's the thing. Tony Romo, I thought he played like shit. And then afterwards, looking at his stats, he didn't really play that poorly.
The Giants' secondary was hot garbage, and their pass rush was just getting fucking hog-tied on every single play.
They weren't getting hog-tied. Come on, don't lie, Derek.
We talked about this last night when you were not sober and you were honest, when you were being an honest Matthew Roth, and you said...
No, we talked about this morning, sir.
I love these refs.
All right.
God bless these refs.
Derek, 13 penalties for the Cowboys for 86 yards, 4 penalties for the Giants for 33 yards.
Yeah, and some of those Cowboy penalties were like delay of game that were insanely obvious because Tony Romo sucks at clock management. And fucking false starts, which were also incredibly obvious. The Giants didn't commit any penalties because most of the time defensive backs are getting away with murder. It's just their defensive backs are so bad that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They made Kevin Ogletree look like a fucking, like, not a number one receiver on a team. They made him look like a top 10 receiver in the league.
Well, that's what happens when you get your number 3 wideout who has some skills against a number 5 cornerback who then gets injured and is replaced with a guy that was, working on the fucking subway last week.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen Any Given Sunday, and sometimes backups are really good.
Only if his name is a Willie Beeman.
He makes the ladies
straight
cream and all my fans. No, but really, Kevin Ogletree had 8 receptions for 114 yards and 2 TDs. Like, that's an awesome stat line for somebody.
And if Victor Cruz, who's on my fucking fantasy team, had dropped 3 easy-ass balls right in the fucking chest.
Those were the funniest drop balls.
He better get his head out of his ass. I don't want to make any changes to my fantasy roster after game 1, but...
But, like, seriously, though, Tony Romo, 2 for 29, 307 yards, 75% completion percentage, 3 TDs, and 1 interception. That's
and one goofy-ass Tony Romo interception. That was a beautiful interception. That bodes well for the rest of his year.
Man, Matt, I just saw your what you changed your fantasy football team name to.
T-Rex Surf Squad.
T-Rex Surf Squad. I like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty fitting for a man of your stature.
For a man with a T-Rex surf
how about Jewish burial denied? Good name for a fantasy football team.
I don't like it.
I'm sorry, Grandma.
Why? That's kind of messed up to talk about my dead grandma who just died.
When did that happen? You didn't tell me that happened.
Yeah, she just died. That's why I was home in Jersey. Really? Thanks for making this weird, Derek.
Hey, we got a caller, so why don't you tell him how awkward this is and what a dick I am?
We have a caller.
Hello there.
Hello. Is this some kind of radio show?
Is this John Snowden?
It is. Wow. Somebody recognizes my voice. I'm just calling in. I felt sorry for you guys. This is a sad display.
When John Snowden is taking pity on you, you're either a promoter trying to compete with the UFC or you have a really bad radio show.
No, your name is either the Fight Fans Radio or Shannon Knapp.
I think that's kind of funny because now, I'm being told like on a daily basis now that I'm a Zuffa puppet. So things have just shifted in a
tell
90
that guy to
way.
call me. Tell him to send me an email, and I'll show him what a Zuffa puppet looks like.
Essentially, you just type in UFC into any kind of like search engine, and any site you go to, that's what a Zuffa puppet looks like.
Well, screw it, John. Since you're here, let's sell your article a little bit. Why is it that you have allowed the fan perception and the media push of Vitor Belfort over the years to kind of sour you on him as an individual and as a fighter?
As an individual, I'm not sure if I have any problem with him as an individual. I was in Dallas one time. I remember this. We were at breakfast in the Hilton in Dallas, and Vitor was there with his people, and he didn't want to do an interview because he was eating breakfast.
Well, yeah, he's with Jesus Christ. You're not going to interrupt the breakfast with Jesus. It's one of his people.
And so that's my negative personal experience, and so I don't appreciate that kind of big-headed celebrity athlete blowing me off like that. But really, it's the constant reminder. When you watch the UFC and you hear Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg talk about the old Vitor, and if you actually watch the UFC, you realize that the old Vitor sucked just as bad as any other version of Vitor. So that's what really bothers me. When I hear that, the old Vitor is going to be back. Well, how's that going to be any different? It's the same guy. He fights the same way today that he did in 1997. So it's, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Could you tell?
Maybe a little bit, man. I didn't really think you were all that genuine, though. It sounded like you were trying to fake the funk a little bit.
Oh, you think I'm a secret Vitor Belfort fan?
You're a huge Vitor Belfort fan, and you were just trying to get him some publicity.
He needed some help. I mean, all anybody's talking about is John Jones. So, I mean, even if it's Vitor Belfort is terrible. That's at least somebody's talking about him. But I'm just so happy that I was allowed to write this article. I was not allowed to write this article at SBNation.com, so this was it was kind of just like a jolt of electricity went through me that like I was allowed to say these things.
Are you sure? Because I wrote literally that article before he fought Anderson Silva.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody really cared about what you were writing as much.
That
sounded bad, right?
It also didn't have as many Thomas Rios-esque social media references.
It was a different world back then.
It was.
No, I think probably for sure I could have written that article at Bloody Elbow. I was thinking more specifically of SB Nation. You remember the MMA Nation site? You may not remember it. I think it was up for 6 months or so.
It was really memorable. It was really memorable.
It's still the future of MMA because it hasn't happened yet.
Look, you guys are wrong about it. That was the design. It was the staff. Everything was perfect, and really, it really says a lot about how stupid the readers and people in general are that they did not embrace the MMA Nation platform.
And that they would even dare to criticize the design of it
as always, I blame the readers.
Yeah,
it's graceful.
It was strictly just the design.
That was it. That was hilarious. The fact that nobody worked there wanted to write any articles, that didn't play into it at all. Anyway, we've gotten far off track of why. I mean, what do you guys think? Are you guys? Is that too harsh?
No, I want to butt in real quick, Derek. I just pulled up Vitor's fight record, and only once in his career does he have more than a 4-fight winning streak, and that came between 2007 and 2009, where he went through Ivan Cerati, James Zichik, Terry Martin, Matt Lindland, and Rich Franklin.
Wait, who are the first two guys though?
Ivan Cerati.
No, I'm asking who are they?
Oh, Cage Rage dudes.
Yeah, that was during the time where he was fighting overseas, when he basically ignored his steroid suspension and went to England and fought a couple of times. Of course, once he became a main event fighter, Las Vegas conveniently forgot about that. But they were very angry for a moment. But yeah, I mean, so when he fights guys that aren't any good, I mean, Matt Lindland was at the end of his career then, and he cheated horribly to win that Rich Franklin fight. So, I mean, that's Vitor at his best, right, when he's fighting tomato cans and guys like that. But, he's never been a guy that stepped up well to competition. And the biggest win of his career is arguably the Vanderlei Silva fight, which I think, was good. I mean, he caught him with a punch. That can happen. The second biggest win of his career was when his glove, like the edge of his glove, the stitching on his glove stopped Randy Couture. That was the second biggest win of his career. I mean, I just can't really think of a fighter that's more overrated than this guy when you look back at his historical record.
Yeah, but he's going to get in the UFC Hall of Fame. He's going to get in the UFC Hall of Fame.
Of course. I mean, apparently, I found this out. I wasn't aware of why exactly he got the favorable treatment he does, but apparently he's a favorite of Lorenzo Fertitta. So, yeah, I mean, he'll be honored in every way that Frank Shamrock and Don Frye are not honored. He'll get all that preferential treatment, right through retirement. And I mean, what does it mean, the UFC Hall of Fame? I guess it's whatever,
Derek, were you trying to say that BJ Penn falls into the same category as Vitor?
Well, I was just saying, as far as overrated historical fighters, John has an opinion on BJ Penn, so I was just kind of being a little bit of a dick there. But I actually had a legitimate question for John about the Greg Jacksonization of the sport, which I think is just a really fancy long word for game planning.
Yeah.
Certainly, have you noticed, does it seem like MMA now is a little less dynamic and a little more predictable because everybody knows everything, that we should go back to guys not, training all the way around so that when they fight somebody, they have these huge gaping holes that can be exploited? Because, I mean, that seems the only way to go back in time to recreate that dynamic is to make guys worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle. I mean, we are at a point where we're almost 20 years into this being a professional sport, so I think you're right for sure that the athletes are a lot more skilled today than they ever were in the past, and with certain combinations of skills, that does lead to kind of a stalemate. And for me, it's interesting. You know, the game plans that a lot of people complain about. Personally, I don't necessarily find that boring. You know, I enjoy watching grappling matches. I enjoy watching people try to impose their will on other people. You know, I was a fan of Matt Hughes and Chael Sonnen and fighters like that. So from a personal standpoint, it doesn't bother me that much. Now, I understand, though, you have to appeal to the people that are watching the UFC, and those are definitely, I think, people that prefer to watch a stand-up fight and prefer to see spectacular knockouts and submissions, and maybe we're getting to the point where those aren't going to happen as frequently, at least not among the highest level fighters. But you know, that could statistically be wrong. This would be a point where, like right now on Bloody Elbow, Mike would be coming up with an article with the actual statistics of submission and knockout rates and stuff like that.
Yeah, he doesn't do that shit anymore.
He doesn't do it. There's no facts. There's no facts supporting what you and I are saying, Derek. Is basically what I'm getting at. I don't know if that's true or not. It feels true sometimes. I agree with you there. Whether it's actually true, we don't have anybody left telling us stuff like that.
Well, I'll let Mike respond, but real quick, I just want to say, like, I feel similarly to you as a football fan. Like, there are football fans that don't enjoy games that are 10-7, or the LSU Alabama game from last year, these defensive struggles. But I think that, you know, not quote unquote true football fans, but more hardcore fans do enjoy that. And as that number expands, they still have a wide enough roster where you have guys like LeVar Johnson and Pat Barry, you know, entertaining fighters to bring people in. But the more of that you have at the top and the better it is, I think that adds to the hardcore fan base and helps to expand it quicker.
Yeah. But, you know, to me, it's like you see someone like John Jones. I mean, he had a fight with Rashad Evans that we went out to in Atlanta, and he just dominated. Rashad Evans is one of the very best fighters in the world, in my opinion. And John Jones made him look simple. You know, he made it look so easy, and he combined all these techniques in just kind of like a breathtaking fashion. And yet, because he didn't finish this fight, afterwards, even the professional media and people who work for the UFC were disappointed in this guy's like obvious mastery of one of the best fighters in the entire world. So when that's kind of the mindset, and you can't even appreciate a fight like that or an athlete like that, that's maybe not a good sign for the long-term future of this as a sport versus a spectacle type thing.
I'm trying to look up some of my old articles about finishing rates, because I feel like, if I remember correctly, there has been a trend downwards in general, you know, but it's hard to really attribute, you know, exactly what is the cause of that. I've always felt for a long time that it was what kind of John alluded to, where, you know, as you get better athletes and smarter fighters and fighters that have more well-rounded skill sets, you're just going to naturally run into more stalemates. Is not exactly the word I'd like to use, but that sort of it's going to be, when you don't have that talent disparity like you used to have 5-10 years ago, it's going to be a lot harder to get consistent finishes.
I think definitely the MMA is so much more cerebral than it was even 5 years ago in a lot of ways. You know, there's just it's amazing how much of it is mental. And I know people say that about a lot of sports where it's not necessarily true. Like, you know, in baseball, it's all about your fast twitch reflexes and stuff like that. But in this sport, I think it really is. There's so much thought that goes into what these guys do. I don't know. I enjoy it, but it's not for everybody.
It's one thing too. You know, I've been thinking about it the last few weeks, and it's one of those things that, you know, I think everyone appreciates a nice, wild slugfest where guys just kind of throw caution to the wind. But when it comes down to it, I watch professional sports for the reason that it's the highest level of athlete. You know, I prefer professional football to college football for that one reason. And, you know, if I want to watch guys just kind of slug it out, I can go to a local show and do that, and I can get exactly what I want. But that's not personally what I enjoy watching fight sport for. I watch, you know, two highly trained, highly skilled, highly athletic guys or women go at it. And, you know, to me, it's like, you know, people who like Mad Men versus Breaking Bad. You know, they're two great shows, and there's great things about each show, but, you know, one's a little more kind of slow building and has a little more depth to it, I think, and one's kind of more shocking and more in your face and more cliffhangers. And there's merits to both, but I personally prefer the kind of more cerebral, intelligent version of it.
Right, and it kind of baffles me sometimes when we think that this sport is going to be a mainstream entity, and I just have gotten to the point where I don't feel like that's the case. Even when the UFC is at its very best, and at its very best, it's presenting a little bit of Mad Men and a little bit of Breaking Bad and some Game of Thrones mixed in there and a little bit of Two and a Half Men or whatever the popular sitcom of the day is. At its best, the UFC is a little bit of everything. But even so, it doesn't have that wide-ranging appeal that I think that all of us thought that it was going to. I was convinced that it was going to be huge on Fox, and it just doesn't seem like it seems like there's a set number of people that are willing to watch this blood sport, and that's it.
Well, speaking of the Fox thing, I think the real interesting thing is going to be this upcoming Fox 5 show, because I think it's a really good card top to bottom.
Have they confirmed Cerrone Pettis for that yet, or is that still rumored?
I haven't heard anything.
That's a beautiful fight to put on Fox if they can do it.
But I think the big thing is that you're going to, for the first Fox show, we had a big push on Fox with the NFL. You saw everywhere, almost every NFL game on Fox, you saw an advertisement for the Junior Dos Santos Cain Velasquez fight. And it's going to be interesting, first of all, to see how much Fox pushes it again this year. And then if it does push it hard, how much of an effect it's going to have. Because I think, we could really see kind of the ceiling here with this next Fox card.
I mean, it's also make or break for them. That's something that nobody's talking about, really, because everyone's still buying into the whole, we have 7 years on the contract. But, I mean, contracts get broken all the time. All the time, and if they don't pull in the proper ratings, like Fox isn't really going to give them prime time ever again.
Well, and they're in an interesting position too. I think Brent Brookhouse has talked about this on Bloody Elbow, where they're in a position where they really need to put big fights on Fox to drive ratings, but they also need to keep those fights for pay-per-view because their model is still based on drawing pay-per-view numbers and making money that way. So they're in a real interesting spot where they need to kind of balance that. And and then there's also the issue of certain guys have pay-per-view incentives in their contracts, and if you're going to get them on Fox, you're going to have to give them some sort of guarantee, a dollar amount up front. So yeah, it is going to be interesting. None of us know really if there's maybe Matt or John, you guys know, but as far as I know, we don't know if there's some sort of out clause or option clause in the contract, if it's 7 years locked in, or if either side can get out of it. But it's going to be interesting.
I mean, the Fuel ratings are up. Fuel is doing incredibly well, and Fox really wanted to build up that brand and that channel. So I mean, it's not going to completely negate the deal, but I know for a fact that Fox was not happy about the Ultimate Fighter ratings. They weren't happy about the ratings for the UFC on Fox's. After Velasquez, and up until now, they're not really happy with it. So, I mean, they're happy with Fuel, they're unhappy with Ultimate Fighter, and they're unhappy with the UFC on Fox shows. So, they're in a really, really, really rough spot.
I'd be really shocked that if there's not a way for Fox to get out of this deal or to cancel the show. I mean, I remember the thing that reminds me of it a little bit was the Vince McMahon's XFL football league, and they had what they called a multi-year contract, but of course when it was a bust they just canceled it. So I would imagine that UFC falls along the lines of that, where they could get out of it if they wanted to. I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect versus where their NFL contract probably doesn't work exactly the same way because it's not the same kind of property. But that's just speculation.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I don't think the entire situation with Fox and the family network is so bad that it's even a serious possibility. But it is an interesting talking point in any case if it really does tank if Fox could get out of it. And Derek, you've been surprisingly silent the last 10 minutes.
I talked my ass off when John got on the phone. I haven't talked to him in a while, so I wanted to take a little break, ski-poo, and let you guys have your Game of Thrones Mad Men bullshit conversation. Are you guys done with that now? I jump back in?
You guys missed each other, didn't you? You missed John, didn't you, Derek?
I was sad when our first pod thingy attempt, we're not allowed to say that word on the show, our first radio attempt went by the wayside. Like, it was sad. He was working on a book, and I was me. So you put those two things together, and it's not good. But yeah, he's still kicking ass and taking names. And one day I will rise up and destroy him.
I appreciate that. I'd like to be in a position where someone cares enough to want to destroy me. That's a good feeling. But I don't want to step back into the conversation about Fox, but I do just real quick because if people didn't see it, there was a pretty interesting interview on SureDog with the president of Fox Sports, Eric Shanks, talks a little bit about what we were just discussing about the deal, where he claims that they're pretty happy, especially with the numbers that UFC is pulling in the prime demographics that they're looking for. And he brought up something that I think Mike brought up too, and he just said it just outright that the reason the first card on Fox did so well was because they advertised it heavily on football. They haven't been able to advertise it on football in the last couple of shows, and football's back. And so
right.
that is more, I think that more even than the fights on the card necessarily is going to be a huge factor. I'm not sure what the media will attribute it to, but I gotta think that football is huge, and advertising on during the Fox broadcast has got to be a tremendous boon. That's all I have to say about that. But you should see it. It's on SureDog.com. An interview with Eric Shanks. So,
What was it conducted by Ariel Helwani?
On SureDog?
That's a joke.
Oh.
Well done.
I laughed.
You got the reference, John.
So anyway, I just wanted to do my small part to contribute to filling a little bit of time that you guys have. Obviously, a lot of time left, but this was my gesture of goodwill towards you guys.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks so much, John.
All right, thanks, guys.
And I'll take the liberty of pimping John's book, Shooters, which you can get on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. He's also, obviously, you can find his work over at Bleacher Report. And the show took a pretty serious turn there for a second. We actually had to talk some MMA and keep it on an even keel.
That was weird.
It's weird when John Snowden's the voice of reason in a conversation.
Yeah, it really is. So since I also write, I'm going to pimp out my own stuff. So on one of my recent trips out to the West Coast, I guess I'm not pimping it out because we have a caller. Caller, what's up, caller?
What's up, caller?
Hello?
Hello there.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is, I saw on the Twitter you had nothing to talk about, so I thought I'd join you as the Roman player calling.
Roscoe, Jesus Christ. This is exactly what I didn't want to happen. You fuckers.
What's up, Gino?
What's up, Gino? How you doing, buddy?
Great, dude. How are you doing?
The Cowboys won last night. I'm not too thrilled about it. These refs are going to really suck throughout this entire season.
No, they're not. They're going to be awesome.
Yeah, if you have a team that holds on 90% of your plays, then yes, you fucking Cowboys fan.
Dude, what's worse is that Tony Romo might do good this year. That's the only real problem.
You shut your mouth.
It's only a problem for certain people.
It's not even December yet. Wait, let's see what Romo does when that calendar hits 12. Turns into a pumpkin.
It's the Mayan calendar, though, so...
Well, fuck, LeBron won a title. Tony Romo, if he wins one... Actually, the planet will end before the Super Bowl if the Mayan shit is true, so we won't have to worry about it.
Well,
so Gino, are you ready to get beaten this week?
Ooh.
Looks like Gino got hung up on.
Or he just left. I don't want to be here anymore. This is stupid.
I think he chicken.
I respect...
I think you scare about me.
You cock.
So I just got pointed to on Twitter some actually pretty big news that we apparently forgot about. Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
All right, we haven't talked about it. Well,
That's
it
all
was
this
kind of
up.
expected. It's gonna happen in October?
UFC on Rio, yeah.
All right. Well, fuck yeah. And are they still calling that UFC at Rio 3? Did they take that out of the numbering scheme, like the email that I got in Puerto
No,
Rico?
no, it's still UFC 153.
Okay.
It's just that what they call it is UFC Rio 3, but it's UFC 153 still.
Okay. Well, what about? I also want to. If anybody has any more information about the mini Japan series that the UFC was talking about doing, because if that's the start of, as they were talking about with the Ultimate Fighter, doing it regionally, just showing it in that country, and then having the winners and the kind of lower coaches fighting the UFC in some kind of event. If that's really what they're doing, then that's an excellent way that we've always talked about for years about them developing a minor league, developing a feeder system in these other countries to pick up this talent before they get locked into bullshit Bellator contracts or something like that. Did anybody else hear about that?
Well,
By the way, wait 1 second. That wasn't Gino Morasco, by the way.
No.
See, I thought it wasn't. It didn't sound
That
like
wasn't Gino. That was most diabolical hater.
Why didn't he correct?
Because he's an asshole.
Derek, I heard about that, and then there were also reports that they hadn't signed anything yet. It sounds like it's more of it's in development more than anything else.
Well, I hope it happens, and I hope that it happens. And that's a great way if they want to do that in India. It's a great way without committing a ton of resources and possibly falling on your face to get those guys under contract, get them, some semblance of insurance, some semblance of oversight, and bring them along to where they're not getting jobbed along the way, by international shit promoters or domestic shit promoters.
So I kind of wanted to talk about the actual matchup between Aldo and Edgar. I looked up the betting odds, and Aldo's about a minus 200 favorite across the board, with some variation there.
Probably bet Aldo at that line. I'd probably just fire at him and try to make 50 on 100.
You think he's a pretty significant favorite?
I think that the only guy that's going to beat Aldo is going to be an aggressive guy. I don't see anybody decisioning him without being a really good wrestler, and even in that case, I see Aldo escaping most of the time. If it's on the feet for 5 rounds, his combination of leg kicks and quickness. I mean, Frankie's more of a counter fighter, and it's hard to counter a really hard leg kick or, the kind of punch.
Counter fighter, because I remember him peppering the fuck out of everyone he's fought.
Well, they come in on him, man. He uses footwork and he uses angles, and he's normally not the guy that throws first.
He didn't counter punch BJ Penn.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He also came in and throws 1-2s and threw takedowns and then got up, and that shit's not going to work on Jose Aldo.
No, but it will tire Aldo out.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen before. That's why he lost the shit out of the 5th round against Mark Hominick, which increasingly looks like a bad Aldo round as opposed to a good Hominick round. It's been impressive how he came back, but how, Chan Sung Jung knocked his ass out, and then he lost to, who was it, Yagin in his next fight?
Yep, Eddie Yagin.
Yeah. So, and that's after winning a round against Jose Aldo in Montreal in front of 55,000 people, having them standing up out of their seats. That's with a fucking hematoma that looks like a softball under your skin. From there to there.
One of the interesting wrinkles about this fight is, we saw Ben Henderson have success early in the first round in the rematch with leg kicks, and he sort of abandoned it as the fight went on. But we've seen Aldo. The Uriah Faber fight's the best example. We've seen Aldo just really tear guys up below the waist, and Frankie didn't really seem like he kind of had that Rampage Jackson mindset where he just didn't really give a shit about his legs getting kicked.
Benson leg kicked the shit out of Frankie too.
Yeah,
could have done it more, but I mean, he was throwing bombs. You have Aldo destroying Faber, and then you have Frankie eating a bunch from Henderson in the previous fights. That's not a good combination, especially since Edgar, for all intents and purposes, seems to have abandoned his wrestling. That may change in this fight because he probably doesn't have. I mean, Aldo's a good wrestler, but he's not Gray Maynard, and he's not Benson Henderson. So Edgar.
I don't know if I would say Frankie's abandoned his wrestling. He's the thing I like about Frankie is that he's willing to take guys down, and if he doesn't like the spot he's in, he's willing to just back off
But he didn't really do it to Henderson. I mean, Henderson, I don't think threw a single takedown attempt, but Frankie didn't throw one in every round like he normally does. I mean, he'll try it every round to see if it's there. If the timing's there, then you score the points, you get up. He did that a bunch to BJ. He couldn't do it to Gray.
I'm looking up
Fight metric.
Frankie's numbers here.
Got to verify every fucking word I say on this show.
Oh, I just like to. It's
keeps me honest. I'm betting like 90%, so it keeps me honest.
He took down Henderson twice in the last fight, 5 times in the first fight. Obviously didn't get.
But how many attempts in the second?
Yeah, I'm just reading the quick stats here on his fight card.
It should be 2 out of something.
Well, I have to go into the fight to look at the attempts. Yeah. 2 out of 6. So 6 takedown attempts in the rematch. 12 in the original bout.
The Japan fight was a little more wrestling-tastic in a lot of different ways.
Edgar, he didn't take Maynard down in the third match, but he tried 11.
No, but he knocked him out.
Well, yeah.
Jersey represent what?
He tried 11 times in the second Maynard fight.
Are you fist pumping right now, Matt?
Yes.
9 times in the
they canceled Jersey Shore, bro. Let it go.
Match. And then 13 times in the so I wouldn't say he's abandoned his wrestling. He's just
it's definitely slowed down. Like you said, compared to his previous fights, he barely used it in the rematch against Henderson. It was like 50% of what he normally does as far as wrestling takedown attempts. Went from an average of about 14 to 7 in a 25-minute.
He didn't. You fucking asshole, Derek. I never once said anything more than 13, and you said it's an average of 14.
Okay, so no, they were all double digits though, right? So an average of 12.
I don't think they were all double digits. I mean, he went from 12 to 6 in the 2 Henderson fights. Like, you can't say his wrestling's slowing down.
12 to 6. They're both 25-minute fights, and he throws half as many takedowns. He goes from 2.5 per round, a little less than 2.5 per round, to just over 1.
Yeah, but do you think that's him abandoning his wrestling, or it's just maybe a random fluctuation in the data, or maybe just...
Oh, it was definitely a different game plan for the second fight. He wanted to box him in the second fight. He wanted to counter him in the second fight. He knocked him down in the second round, which was really beautiful. And he punched him right in the face when Henderson was trying to showboat, I think, in the fourth, which made me happier than any other punch had that I've seen live.
I think I think one of the things Edgar needs to do if he wants to beat Aldo is to kind of use that game plan he's used against, especially the BJ, where he's willing to get in and take guys down, but not necessarily going to commit if he doesn't feel like.
And that means he needs to be more aggressive with his wrestling than he was in the last Henderson fight, because he didn't throw that many takedown attempts. This will be the first fight probably in his fucking career that he might have a size advantage, or that he'll at least have size parity.
I don't think so. Maybe we did talk about this last week, because I feel like maybe I was talking to someone else. I was talking to my friend about it. I don't think Edgar's going to be bigger than Aldo. I don't
think so either. He probably wasn't. Edgar's like closest guy that he's fought in size maybe is either like Matt Veach or Tyson Griffin, who also made 145. But Gray Maynard's a monster at 155, and Henderson's a big guy too at that weight, so it'll be different for him. And BJ made 170, so he's not a small lightweight.
Yeah, I mean it'll definitely be an improvement for Frankie sidewise, but I wouldn't be surprised if Aldo ended up being the bigger.
I don't know. I know Aldo had a bad cut for Montreal, quote unquote, but was that flu related, or how big is his cut? Because I don't really know.
It was flu related.
If they're both cutting 15 to 20 pounds, if they're both walking at between 160, 165, that's parity as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think Frankie walks at 165 though.
What do you think he walks at?
I don't think he cuts for much more than.
I said 160 to 165. So if he's at 160. And Aldo's cutting 20 pounds, which is a decent-sized cut for a featherweight, then they're the same size as far as I'm concerned. And that's different for Frankie because he hasn't had that in a while.
All right, whatever you say, Derek.
I got to fucking
break
it
down. Let me pimp out my stuff, because I haven't been doing that on the show, and I want to start pimping out my stuff on the show.
Because you need our audience to really get to that small Bleacher Report site.
Did you get endorsed by Kosher Hot Dogs or something?
Huh?
Are you endorsing circumcision? What's going on here?
No, I'm endorsing my own writing now.
Oh, the state of Israel? What's going on?
Yes, I'm endorsing the state of Israel right now. So on one of my recent trips to the West Coast, I got actually an opportunity to speak with the CEO of Bad Boy, and
whose dick did he suck to get that job?
Man, so many dicks. There was like 15 dicks I had to suck to get that.
A lot of dicks. What's his name? What's the guy's name?
So the CEO his name's Robin Offner, and
I'm sorry, Robin Offner.
Offner.
Okay, Offner. All right.
Yep. And it was actually really interesting because I've always been interested in the business side of MMA because, you know, fans always talk about, well, they always make money, you know, from sponsorships and back locker room bonuses. So what you see isn't what they actually make. And it was interesting actually talking to the guy because I got to have an understanding of what they look for when trying to sign fighters, and also, you know, what their model is as far as you know, signing and paying fighters. And it seems like they're actually one of the really good brands in MMA. They're not somebody who's, you know, coming in to make a quick buck and then go out of business. So it was actually really interesting. One of the really cool stories was during the '94 baseball strike. They actually made up a bunch of T-shirts and mailed them to every single baseball player. So the first day that they went on strike, they were actually all the baseball players were wearing this T-shirt saying "Bad Boy on Strike," and it was on the cover of USA Today. That's interesting, Michael.
Boom. I was waiting for you see the flash, and then it takes a couple seconds, and then you get the boom.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a cool experience, and I actually got an understanding of what their business model is.
They sell T-shirts, right? That's the main business model.
It's mostly condoms.
Mostly condoms, like the
Mostly
depot
condoms.
style.
What?
Is it like a depot of condoms?
Yes, it
Like
is
a whole, like trains pull up to it and just load up with condoms.
You could even say that that is a condom depot.
That's a lot of condoms.
Yep.
A whole depot full of them. That's impressive.
Yep. So yeah, that was my latest today. In 2 days, I'm writing a reflection piece on the death of Evan Tanner.
Oh.
So check out Bleacher Report. I think you need to find it on like a Google search. It's not that big of a website.
Dude, Bing, come on, get with the times.
Sorry, I'm an Apple guy. We don't do Bing.
No, but you do Google.
Yep.
I got jackass. I got my Nexus 7 tablet replaced. I got one for my birthday, but the screen started popping up. I guess it's happening to a lot of them. So
I've heard that the bezel doesn't keep it in or something.
You know what that doesn't happen to? The iPad.
Well, yeah, you know what else it doesn't happen to? A pile of money, and I don't have that either. But this, you know, I got it replaced, and I still have a warranty on it. It was within the fucking 15 days, and I bought a 3-year service plan for $20. So if anything bad happens to it, I'll be covered. But, you know, it's first generation, and apparently you can fix it by cracking up the back and screwing it in, but I had the receipt, so I just said, fuck it.
I wish I could.
The thing is, Erica's pimping her iPad right now in the chat. I have an iPod Touch, which is like a teeny tiny little iPad. I have a Windows phone, and the only thing I didn't have anything of the platform on was Android. So now I have Android, and Android's pretty fucking sweet, I gotta say.
I was actually there was an article. I guess Amazon had they announced their new Kindle line, and a lot of new stuff looks pretty cool. Some of it's priced. I think there was one. I think their 7-inch Kindle is priced cheaper than the Google 7.
No, that's the old one. That's their.
Are you sure? Pretty sure.
I think it's the Fire, not the Fire HD. Their old one is the Kindle Fire. They've had that out.
Yeah, that one is basically an iPad without any of the functionality.
Oh, the 7-inch 16 gigabyte is $199, which is the same price as the 7. But the 7's only 8 gigabytes, right? The 250 gigabyte model is
that's $199. The 249 one is the 16.
16 gigabyte, right?
Now, the thing with that it's appealing about the Amazon shit is it has this LTE plan that's 250 gigs of data a month for $50 a year.
It's only 250 megabytes.
Yeah, 250 megabytes a month, which means you get your emails and you can send your texts and browse a little bit.
Yeah, but it's only $50 a year.
And that's impressive. That's $4 a month. Yeah.
Although, again, if you want to do anything outside of, really low-level browsing and emailing, that's not a lot of data for you.
No, it isn't. But I don't think I'm ever going to pay for, like, gigabytes of data on my cell phone on a monthly basis. I'm just not out on the go that much. There's enough Wi-Fi around. Like, that seems like overkill to me.
Yeah. I have my Verizon phone. I have a 4 gigabyte plan, and I'm pretty good about trying to stay on Wi-Fi if I can. And I barely use half of it. Although the typical Verizon deal is 2 gigabytes, so I'm kind of glad.
I've got 200 megabytes on my phone, and I normally don't break it. I just don't do a lot of browsing on my phone. I never check Twitter on it. I didn't even upload the Facebook app, so it doesn't automatically update that.
And you are a Luddite.
I used to use my iPod Touch for everything, teeny-ass little fingers, so I'm just happy having a screen now where, like, if you flip it horizontally, the fucking keyboard splits. So, big hands.
Yeah, I feel like eventually I'm going to get the Google tablet still, because I really like being in the...
Matt, what you got, son?
What do I have?
What you got?
I got an iPad too.
You enjoy it?
I love it. I love my iPad.
And what do you
cover? Is it covering like cookie crumbs and Pabst Blue Ribbon stains?
It's mostly from cum stains.
Yeah. The Retina display is pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah, this one. So the iPad 2 doesn't have a Retina display. I use it basically when I'm on the go. So when I'm in an airplane and flying and stuff, and also I bring it to the bar, and I can actually do some writing on it. I can't edit photos and stuff, at least inserting photos and stories, but I can write full posts on my iPad, which I do sometimes.
Why can't you upload photos? Is it just the way
just the way that the Bleacher Report backends created?
You should be able to access the full site version from Safari on your iPad. So if you can do that, that's a problem.
It's the way that it's a combination of how photos are stored on like an iPhone, iPad.
You couldn't upload them to like Picasa, and then fucking put them over.
No, it's not like the SB Nation backend where you could just like type, drag a URL, and you actually have to either do a search on Getty or PressWire.
Oh, you guys are worried about getting sued and shit. Yeah, we were never concerned about that at SB Nation.
Yeah,
I think SB Nation's a little more concerned about that now.
Find an image, we'll make a copy of it and upload it. That's fine.
But we actually have to upload photos if we're not actually if we don't own them. So you can't do that with the way that the iPad backend is created.
I used to make like my own little legal captions and just be like via this because nobody told me to, and I wanted to give credit to whoever's art I was using.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Whatever.
That with us, Derek.
Also shout out to
a lot of people tune in for the blogger tales.
Gracie, who celebrated her birthday yesterday.
Who celebrated their birthday?
Gracie.
Gracie, who's Gracie?
Director of Marketing.
Oh shit! You didn't say her last name. I know her, Gracie, whatever her last name is.
You didn't say her last name, which I can't repeat because I don't remember it.
There you go. All right, well, high five to all of us.
Well, I know it. Why
are you Facebook friends with her and it popped up on your screen?
Nope, I knew that.
How did you know it was her birthday?
Because we talk.
Oh,
over coffee? Is it coffee talk?
It's coffee talk. No, I'm friends with her on Facebook. So big shout out to the director of marketing, Gracie.
Yeah, market the shit out of us, Gracie. We're funny, engaging people.
I am a funny man.
On that note, boys, it's time to get out of here. It's time to hit the music. Derek, you got any last words for us?
Are there any fights going on that we can talk about between, now and next Thursday? Or are we just going to have to, stage some fights and have people suggest fantasy matchups for us to talk about? Because you can do that on Twitter.
Nope.
Yeah, I think we're fucked.
Let's make up some fights then. We need some hypotheticals, things you want to see, things that you wanted to see years ago. No GSP Anderson Silva, Mike. That's disqualified from conversation.
All right, we can do that. We can come up. Let's come
do
up
some
with
fantasy. Let's do some fantasy matchups.
Yeah, let's do that. Matt, any
I'll turn it into a slideshow.
Our first fantasy matchup next week will be Israel versus Iran.
I just want to say next week no more, no new fight talk probably, but be prepared to have birthday gifts for me, boys.
It's going to be your birthday?
It's my birthday next week.
It was mine 2 weeks ago. Nobody gave a fat fuck, so whatever.
Well, you didn't talk. You didn't bring it up, Derek. If you don't care about your birthday, I'm not going to care about it.
Mike, but here's the thing. You brought up your birthday, and I still don't care about
That's
it.
kind of what I'm saying. Like, the inverse of that isn't true.
Guys, I expect gifts next week.
I don't think I'm into no one else
when
with.
it's my birthday, though, you guys better celebrate.
Come up to Chicago, baby. I'll have a party with you.
Come out to Colorado when there's a title fight, you fucks. Erica did.
Erica had business.
So should have you.
So should have you. Good English.
Shit, comma, eat a bag of.
Dun, 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 dun,
Da-da-da-da.
dun, dun,
It's
dun.
the Nutcracker. I don't understand.
No, it's not. It's Nightmare Before Christmas.